Cheers. It's not Friday yet, but it is Tuesday.
To the Chinese Federation? Is that what we're cheersing? What are we cheersing?
Taco Tuesday.
What are we cheersing to? I feel like I'm not caught up to anything.
Cheersing to surviving, maybe.
Yeah, I guess you can call it like a survival. You know, it's...
We're alive.
I haven't killed anybody. I'm not in jail. So
we're winning.
I am not myself in the last 2 weeks.
You're not.
Do I seem like myself?
No, you don't.
What's the part specifically?
Well, first of all, I feel like we haven't really even like talked in the last 2 weeks.
To each other?
Yeah. That's why I feel like you're not yourself.
Do you appreciate that more?
No. I like spending time with
nice.
you.
Me too. Me too.
And as well.
I like spending time with me as well.
Yeah.
I like spending time.
No, I feel like we just haven't had like a moment to sit down and talk or banter or, just be ourselves with each other. And that's
a nice way of describing it. Not only banter, like, I don't think a lot of people could banter their spouse.
Yeah. And we do that a lot. So it's like, I think that's why it feels like you're not yourself and I'm not myself, because we're not ourselves together,
yeah. I do miss that a lot. I've been in full survival mode. Yeah. So like the last 2 weeks, ever since we got the keys to the house, it was nothing but like go. Well, I would say even 3 weeks, because we have keys for 3 weeks now. And the only reason
it's been a month.
It's been a month.
Yeah, because I think we got on February 19th and it's already
because the first setup was the garage setup, and that took a minute, painting and all that stuff, and the shop setup. And then after that, it went to this full bore, like 2 weeks, 2 weeks of flooring, demo of the old flooring, painting of the walls. 3,000 square feet of painting is so much.
It's so much.
And
the hardest part is masking everything off. It's not even the painting part's not that bad, right? It's the masking.
100%. Yeah. The painting part is not that bad.
Because you can get it done fairly quick, but
yeah, because you're shooting the paint. With a gun. That part's easy.
But getting every little nook and cranny.
In fact, let's put it this way: the room gets done with ceiling and walls, not counting baseboards, is probably like 10 to 15 minutes. 10 to 15 minutes. 15 minutes comfortably.
And masking is like 3 hours.
Oh my goodness. The amount of tape that we've gone through, the amount of masking that we've gone through. I've just been so... Today's what? Today is Tuesday. Yesterday was Monday. Yesterday
the day before that was
Sunday. And then before that was Saturday. Yeah, remember that Rebecca Black song? Yesterday is Friday. Yesterday was Tuesday.
No, Thursday. And tomorrow, Saturday. I don't remember how it goes.
And so just kind of going through all that stuff it's because we're sleeping at the mother-in-law's house.
Yeah, it's about a week.
It's a family of 5 of us. Harper,
in one room.
The 9-month-old, does not like sleeping in the pack and play. The boys are fine. They sleep like tanks, actually, to be honest with you.
True.
But waking up, we're sleeping on a full-size bed.
I mean, it's a queen, but still.
Is that a queen?
It ain't no king.
It ain't no king. It ain't no California king. By the way, can we get a California king one of these days?
What's the difference?
I think they're like
longer.
Significantly wider.
No.
They're just longer?
They're just longer.
I thought people. California kings were... I don't care about...
They might be slightly wider, but I don't think it's that much wider. I think it's just longer.
Look, I'm 6'2", and I don't care about it being longer. Like, yes, sometimes my feet kind of dangle off a little bit, but then I just scoot up forward a little bit and I'm fine. It's more of like I would like just a little bit more extra space on the sides, but... anywho, that's neither here nor there. What was I going to? This is how... So, it's... Yesterday
sleeping in one room.
Sleeping in one room yesterday, but I would start each day at 6 a.m. at the new house working. I would finish at 6:30 to 7:30 every day.
If not later.
I would come to your mom's house, and they're on vacation, so they're not even there, which is nice, but still we have the opportunity to be there. And I would lay on the floor, and it's my way of kind of like just laying, because I know that all the kids can't be on the couch with me. So I lay on the floor with the hopes that they come, I tell them, like, I invite them to come cuddle with me. And that's like the intention of like spending some time with them. And then half the time I just fall asleep on the floor.
Oh, immediately.
By like 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Oh, within 5 minutes of laying on the floor.
I'll ask them about their day, and then cuddles and kisses with Harper and Beckham and all of them. And then all of a sudden I'm asleep. Mm-hmm. And then I would start the next day at 6 a.m. again. Sometimes there's been a time that I started at 3:30, just started at the computer and all that stuff. And then constantly like chasing, putting out fires, chasing. There's just not enough daylight. And I think I did that consistently at that routine for 2 weeks with no days off, 12-hour days. And it was enough for me to just not be myself again.
Yeah, you feel it. And then everybody around you feels it.
Oh, I'm mean to people. You've seen it. It sucks because when I'm at my most like relaxed and like taken care of, I feel like I'm collected enough that if somebody is a douche or
a jerk,
I could just kind of like, I'll keep my mouth quiet, brush it off, and just kind of. But at this period, I've been so forward with people and so rude to people that it's embarrassing. It's kind of like I kind of recalled some of the because there's a handful of times when you're like, hey, that was really rude what you said.
I called you out.
To that one person, so and so.
Very lovingly called you out.
Yeah, and obviously my excuse is like, hey, listen, I'm exhausted. I need a day, a day off, a day off.
But aren't we all like that? If we're so tired, we are running on zero sleep, and we feel like we are overwhelmed with so much to do. We're all like that. We're all short to the people around us, and mostly that's the people, our family. And you just don't feel like yourself. Because I felt like that in the last couple of weeks too. It's like I have moments of like, I feel like I lash out a little bit quicker than usually. I can be a little bit more patient, but that patience is definitely not there.
That's what I like about you. You always give me like the benefit of the doubt.
But it's true.
No, and I no, that's not me being funny. That's me truly going like I appreciate that about you, because here's the thing. I don't think you and I fight. I think, and we both can agree on the fact that in almost 9 years of marriage, we've had 2 fights ever?
No, it's been more than that, but it's like,
okay, no more than 5.
It's like 2 a year.
2 a year. Okay. That's more. Well, now what do you define as fights? Are we yelling, or are we just kind of being like smart addies?
Well, the thing is, we've never yelled at each other. Our fights are more like,
I go straight for the punches.
Our fights are more like, it's not even an argument. It's more like one person says, hey, I didn't like this and this and this, and the other person starts crying.
That's usually me.
And says,
you said you're being rude to him. I don't like how you're saying it.
But that's how it is usually. It's like, it doesn't really ever, I guess I'll put it this way. It doesn't really ever get to a fight. We always nip it in the bud.
What is it, bud or butt?
I thought it was bud.
I always thought it was butt. Nip it in the butt. Why? Like, what's bud? First of all, I always thought bud is, marijuana or,
A bud, like flower bud, maybe?
Nip it in the bud. Oh, like when you're pruning them? But you don't prune at the bud. You prune at the lower.
In the bud. It is bud. But then it says nip it in the butt. So I think it's both.
Oh, that one says put it in the butt right there. That's cool. Yeah. Hey, press on that
Don't
one.
Google that.
No, click on that one.
The actual saying is nip it in the bud. The meaning is to take care of a problem in its early stages before it gets too big to manage.
Oh, so you cut off the flower before it blooms kind of thing?
Yep.
Look at me, try to dissect deep thoughts.
Yeah.
It's another saying that I intentionally don't say it the right way because I don't like how the real thing is. It's the saying is for shits and giggles, and I'm like, there's kids around. Like, can we just say kicks and giggles?
Is that what you say? Kicks?
I say kicks and giggles.
Is that a thing, or did you just make it up?
Shits and giggles?
No, kicks and giggles.
I think it was my way of using the wrong thing, kind of like nip it in the bud or butt. It was the same thing. I was like, it's kicks and giggles, right? Because are we using that in school with kids? Like,
Seriously.
oh, for shits and giggles. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You could say the S word?
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but going back to like arguing, I think we always end it before it escalates.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's only been like, I can probably recall one time where we raised our voices at each other.
I'm curious. What time was that? Do you remember?
You don't remember?
I don't remember. Do you remember?
I do.
Which one? Ooh, this is cool. Tell me.
Do you want me to like name the specific scenario or just
no,
the
I
time?
think it's totally cool. To me, I'm just curious because I know that we don't do this
It
often.
was
so. First of all, was I right or wrong?
it was kind of a misunderstanding, but we were both, I mean, you were right.
Oh, tell me more now. Leave nothing out. Leave nothing out.
It was not this Christmas, but I believe it was the one before, or maybe even the one before that.
Is that recent?
No. Like, I think before I was even pregnant with Harper.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the Christmas before.
Okay.
No, I was pregnant. So it was a year ago.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think so. Or if not, the year before. Anyway, your parents came from out of state.
Okay, something recalls about that, about being upset about that.
I had to work so they came for like 5 days and I had to work like 4 of those days.
I feel like I remember something along the lines of like, it was a multiple day, like we were not in cahoots together. Like there was some like tension for like multiple days.
Yeah, so.
What was it?
So I had to work like 4 out of like 5 of the days they were here. And one of the nights I had book club.
Yeah.
And I was going to go. And then you were like, you texted me and you were like, oh, you're still going to go? Like you've been working 4 days and you're still going to go out with your girlfriends while my parents are here.
Yep,
and then
I remember that.
going,
Yep.
And that specific book club was the Christmas party that we were having. And so like we were doing this like white elephant exchange. So I like had already bought a present. And to me, it was like, well, I had already planned this. Like your parents came super last minute. And that was my kind of excuse was we invited them to come for Christmas that year. And then they were like, oh, we can't come, but we can come like this weekend.
Is that okay?
So it was like that quick where it was like, well, I'm working. I have like plans already. Like I don't want to cancel them. But at the same time, I know they like want to hang out with us.
Yeah.
And so you were like, basically like, I can't believe you're still going to book club.
I do remember that.
And then I got mad at you because I was like, it's not my fault. Like they came so last minute and I had all these plans already. I don't want to cancel them.
Yeah.
And so I got mad at you. And I remember I came home one night and I was pregnant, mind you. So I was like not even 12 weeks. So super hormonal. You didn't even give me the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. Also the way you enunciated I thought I was going to go a different direction. I was like super horny, hormonal. Yeah. I guess, it never works out.
Same, but different.
Yeah, it never works out in my benefit.
And one of the days I came home, I think it was that day that I ended up not going to book club because I was like, screw it. Fine, I won't go, but I'm going to be super mad at him.
I remember you went to the different room.
Yeah, so I came home. First of all, I was so tired. I was staging that entire day. Mm-hmm. And I came home and I was like pissed and tired because I was also pregnant and not feeling good. I was nauseous. And I remember I just like went into the other room and laid on the couch. You guys were all eating dinner. And then you came and you were like, you're not even going to eat with us? And I was like, I'm not hungry.
Oh, so
it was like this.
I'm clearly the bad guy the way you're telling the story, which I'm not saying. I'm not trying to justify anything. But the only reason I'm even mentioning that I sound like a bad guy is because you said, prefacing to the story, you said I was right in this fight. So I'm just trying to clearly. I'm like I don't see where I'm right in this.
Well,
I clearly.
And so, so we were being super passive aggressive towards each other, and this is the only time I remember where we let a fight or being mad at each other last multiple days. It wasn't like usually we're like, okay, what's wrong? You need to tell me what's wrong.
Yeah.
We're good about like communicating that, but for some reason, we were both like very. I don't care, I'm right, or like I'm just mad. And so I think because usually I'm the first one to say like I'm sorry, or
do you think that's the case? Do you think, because I'm listen, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I feel like I'm pretty good at apologizing.
You are.
Okay.
And I think that's why we usually don't let an argument get to an argument, because we both
want to outdo each other by apologizing.
but also like, no, we clear the air. So we say, this is what I'm upset about. And then you come and say, this is what I'm upset about. And then one of us will say, listen.
Fuck you. Oh, no, I'm kidding.
One of us will say like, you know what? I'm sorry that you felt this way, or I made you feel this way. And then the other person will say, I'm sorry too. And then I think that's what we're good about. But in this case, nobody was saying sorry. Nobody will it was just super passive aggressive. And then at one point, your parents were in the house and we both went into the garage. I don't remember if I was leaving somewhere or if you were leaving somewhere. And then like, it just like blew up.
I think you were, I do remember that.
Was I going to work? I think I was going to work.
Yeah, I think you were leaving somewhere.
And I just remember you saying like, I am so embarrassed that you are acting this way in front of my family. And I got so...
I said that?
I was so, I guess embarrassed too that you felt that way. Because I was like, you're embarrassed for me? Because you've never said that to me. And you've never...
so...
You said that. You said, yeah. I'm embarrassed that you are like behaving this way in front of my parents. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm the worst person in the world.
Oh, you actually received it? Like you received that, like, not, you know, when people are fighting, they say things to hurt one another.
I think I did say some hurtful words.
No, but like most of the time when people are both like angry at each other, they'll say things kind of like well, whatever, but like they'll say things to hurt the other person or guilt trip the other person.
I don't think we've ever been like that.
But I guess that's my question with you, is when you heard me say that, your brain didn't go to like, oh, you're going to pull that card on me?
Well, it did initially.
You did?
I think in hindsight, I was like embarrassed after the conversation. But initially when you said that, and I was like, I was kind of like caught off guard because you had never said that to me. And also I didn't feel like I was doing anything wrong because it was mostly just between you and me. I was like, what if your parents have anything to do with it? It's like you and I.
Right.
And I was like, you're embarrassed for me. What about you? You're the one that's like, won't even look at me or talk to me, you know?
Okay.
And so I was like kind of defensive. And I think I did say that, like, and so we both laid it on the table. I said, listen, I have to work. I can't not work, but also it's not really fair for me to cancel plans when your parents come so last minute. If it was like planned out like weeks or month or like even like a month in advance, I wouldn't have even, made these plans. But it's like, to me, it just felt like, why should I cancel my plans when, they just come last minute and they also come to hang out with the kids,
Right.
So,
right.
But I think we kind of hashed it out a little bit then, and then
because I remember that conversation. I do remember in the garage, and I remember that.
And they got heated. I think
no
it was the only time. Yeah, there was no conclusion. It was like
that was day 2 of this argument thing.
It was like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And I just remember like it was probably like the most we've ever raised our voices at each other, because I remember thinking like, your parents can probably hear us, because it was like we were right next to the garage door and like the kitchen.
We're like passionately talking,
and we were talking very loud. Yeah. So I'm like, oh my gosh, your parents are like probably thinking we're getting a divorce.
Yeah.
Oh, in fact, I think you said that.
What?
I think you said something like, my parents probably think we're getting a divorce because of the way we're acting towards each other.
Because we're like the way we're like avoiding each other or something like that.
Yeah. And I was like, are you kidding me? We're just fighting.
Well, now keep in mind, the only reason I said that was because my oldest brother actually did get a divorce, and he didn't tell my parents for like 2 years.
Right. So your parents are like on edge.
So I don't think they're on edge, but I think they're probably reading into stuff. Yeah. Now, okay, here's what's interesting. I remember now that feud pretty well now, and I don't remember how we. Do you remember how we put? Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll get to it. That'll be my next question. We'll get to it.
Okay.
It's interesting that this is actually a really interesting podcast.
I don't remember it as well as I do. I don't know why it stuck out in my mind so.
Well, it's coming to me back now. But what's interesting to me is more of like what was my question? I was gonna say. Man, it slipped my mind. I was like,
Sorry.
I was on a. No, it's all right. No, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I definitely forgot exactly what I was gonna say, but I have another point to it.
Okay.
It's. Oh, here it is. Parents, when parents are involved, this is actually an interesting concept. I never put my parents before anything else in my life. So it's not like, I'm mama's boy, I'm daddy's boy. Like I need to do this thing to make sure they're happy every time they're in town. That was never the case. I have more bitterness and resentful based off of my childhood and people, because I follow like a very non-traditional path. I almost wanted to reclaim any kind of honor that was there. This is actually a prime example. You and I had this conversation last night where when my parents, again, they're in town right now, how convenient, right? But you and I were in bed last night and we were just kind of talking and I was like, am I, there was not a lot of words being shared. I asked you, I was like, am I, because I was going on this rant. Now, keep in mind, I'm the youngest of three boys. My oldest brother is the pride and joy, right? Went to college, got his master's, started making a bunch of money. I got C's and D's in school, barely got a secondary education, got a career in something that didn't pay that much, but I was in the hospital, and then quit that to do YouTube. And my parents basically thought I was like a hippie because by doing that path. So, because when you're an immigrant, you either are a lawyer, doctor, or a businessman, and that is the only thing that's successful in life. So, now going back to it, the rant that I had with my parents yesterday was basically me obnoxiously flexing in front of my parents about the success I've had, right? I was like, in 2020, I paid off my student loan. I paid off Irina's car. I paid off this, and I bought a boat.
You were
for
proving
cash.
yourself to them.
And I kept saying these obnoxious, pretentious things that after it was done, I kind of looked at myself and was like, what am I doing? But you're the one that made it kind of evident to my attention, because when I kept doing that, you used to have this thing where, and this is where I attribute, I think, the majority. I attribute my success to two things. Your belief in me and being my biggest fan, right? Because you're always impressed what I do. So when you're impressed and you show that you're impressed, I want to keep impressing you, right? And then the second thing is I attribute to my success is psychotic, compulsive behaviors of trying to improve numbers and what I mean? OCD, yeah.
Or obsessive compulsive disorder. One of the two.
Yeah, that's what.
If you haven't listened to that podcast, I don't remember which one it is.
It just dawned on me right now. I think it must have been like two episodes ago. And so
because if you're not on time, you're late.
If you're on time, and that's
you're
facts,
not on time,
right?
you're late.
And that's the truth. And sometimes you can call that facts.
Take it to the bank.
You can take that to the bank. And so that was like a prime kind of thing where I was like,
Wait, you're saying at that time, so you attribute two things to your success? Can you say them again?
What do you mean?
Can you say them again?
You want me to say
I just forgot what you said.
Success. Well, you and
Yes,
how
yes.
you're always a cheerleader towards me in the perspective of you're always you did what? We're getting what? You know what I mean? So it's
but you were saying it was evident when you're talking to your parents?
When I was talking to my parents last night and I was doing these obnoxious flexes, because in the immigrant community, it's always about what you have and what you accomplished, right? So it's do you drive a nice car? Do you know what I mean, kind of thing. And
but
so
also,
they're very not monetary, what are they called? Very physical exchanges, right? Materialistic, yeah, that's what they are. And so I was basically speaking to them in the terminology or a way, and I was speaking Russian too, which is, my Russian's pretty broken now. I have a huge Russian accent. When I
don't
speak
think you do.
But
that's because mine is even worse.
I had a thick. I kind of looked back and I was like, I sound like I'm drunk because as I'm as
you can feel
hard
that you're
I'm
not,
trying to enunciate these
Yeah.
words. It's all sounds like I'm lisping, and it's I am so out of touch. And so I kept doing it, and I think at one point. I don't want to even. I'm embarrassed about that line that I said, but I don't want to. I don't want to recall it right now on the podcast because it's such an obnoxious, pretentious
you don't
line.
have to say it.
when it comes to your paycheck. And you're the one, like I kept looking at you, and usually you're like my biggest fan in the corner kind of thing. And you were just kind of like nonchalant. And I was like, am I being gross in her perspective right now? And so I kind of like kept that in the back of my mind. And then when we started talking, I kind of started bringing up this conversation. And again, like I was like, you know, you were like, yeah, you're being pretty forward with your parents about like how much you make and stuff like that. But then you were, again, this is why you're so gracious towards me. Like you're so good to turn it around and be like, I get it. Like, I get it. Like they always doubted you. I get it.
Well, and then you brought
my
up,
parents told me like, and my mother, so my mother, my father, and my grandmother, my entire childhood, because math came so difficult to me and I couldn't memorize my multiplications table, I still remember being 8 years old and everybody would tell me, all those people would tell me, you're going to grow up to be a garbage man. And so when I barely graduated college and I barely got a degree,
right. And then
I got a career, and then I quit the hospital prestigious work, even though I wasn't making a bunch of money, I just quit the hospital prestigious work to have more time, more freedom with my family, and obviously make more money. It was like my time of kind of going like, it's like that nerdy kid in school who couldn't get any girls. And so what does he do? There was a Ryan Reynolds actually movie about this. And now that I'm thinking about it,
so many tangents.
Do you remember? No, but do you remember there's this Ryan Reynolds Christmas movie?
Just Friends.
Is that what it was? Oh, wow, that was quick. Where he's this nerdy fat kid, couldn't get it. He was always in the friend zone.
And then he's so cool.
Then he went to New York or something like that and made a thing of himself, got a career. He's a stud, and he comes into town in a Porsche.
Yep, that's Just Friends.
And it was completely embarrassing because the Porsche got stuck in the snow and he's getting these weird looks.
He's just so extra.
Yeah, but the weird looks I was getting was from you. It wasn't from my parents. I think my parents, it was exactly along their lines. Like my mom was like, fascinated. But like you were like, really? You're doing this? And because you were grossed out by it, like I was grossed out. And I was like, damn, I hate that I just did that. And
well, to me, it's like I remember like last night, we were talking about it. I was like, I just haven't heard you be that forward with them. But then, you brought up the whole childhood of like, you feel like you have so much to prove to them. Because
100%.
For a long time, your mom would be like, so are you still working? It's like she didn't think YouTube was work. Yeah. She would, when she mentioned, oh, so do you work or are you just doing this stuff? Like, yeah. To her,
my mom thinks I started a candle business on Etsy. Yeah. That's what she thinks.
So it's like you have a lot to prove to her.
100%.
And I mean, your dad too, because for you and your childhood with him was rough too, because he wouldn't let you, like help him or participate or.
I have a lot of mommy and daddy issues and childhood trauma and my self-esteem behind all that now when the things are playing out really well in my life, I guess I don't know how to showcase that to them and show that I am doing good, and they should be proud. But it was really
it goes back to that whole you just want your parents to be proud of you.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%. It does. It
so funny.
And to be completely honest, you know what's actually the okay, here's two things, and I'm gonna say one story from yesterday and one story from today. With this effort of saying things just to make your parents proud, right? Because you took a non-traditional route. The first time my dad was impressed by me was not being published in Better Homes and Garden. It was not hiring employees at work for me. It was not, having a successful YouTube channel.
Even family.
Well, but or even family
or seeing how you're raising your boy.
And I'm sure he'll say that. I'm sure he'll always go on record and be like, no, you're great. Yeah. But the first thing he has ever told me was and he even prefaced it this way. This is exactly what he said. And I hope he never hears this podcast, but he said it like this. He says, so what was it? Was it 2 months ago, right? We bought a boat, right? Yeah. And we owned the boat, and it's a really cool wake surfing boat. And my dad, as a childhood, I remember he's always wanted a boat. And I know he always wanted a Bayliner, which is not a really an impressive boat nowadays compared to what's out
But
there.
back then.
But back then it was the bee's knees. And I remember being in middle school and I would go to the library as like a class. You know, when our kids bring back school books, I'd bring back boat magazines because I remember my dad always kind of daydreamed about a boat. And I remember talking to the library and like, oh yeah, my dad wants to have a boat. And they go, what kind of boat? And I was like, oh, I don't know, but he likes boats, and I'm bringing these magazines home because he checks out these boats.
That's hilarious.
And I remember 2 months ago when I bought this boat, and I sent him pictures of this boat, and my dad called me. And he goes, oh, I haven't got the pictures yet. Did you send them? I'm like, yeah, I sent them. And then he called me back and he's like, that's, of all the things you've ever done, he goes, that's one of the coolest things. And
that's so funny.
which it's interesting because maybe like a part of me would have like read into be like, of all the things, this is what you're proud of? The fact that I could have gotten a loan and got a boat. Like I would have done that years ago. I said, screw college, I'll just go get a boat. But
screw a house, let's go get a boat.
But because of still how much childhood trauma I have, I didn't even look into that part. I was
just like, he's proud.
Oh, you're happy with me? You're proud of me? And so like that's where that went. And I texted my oldest brother, which me and him, we never got along, but we are now finding ways how to communicate together. And I said, hey man, like, so we're trying to be respectful to each other. So I was like, hey man, check out this boat. He goes, dude, that's sick. Cause he's got like a cool sports car. So like, this is my version of the sports car. I was like, and he's like, dude, that's so sick, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, dude, dad was more proud of me for getting this boat than of anything I've ever done. Like maybe I should have never gone to college and just got a boat. And he goes, yeah, dude, he just always wanted a boat. And so,
so interesting.
Yeah, no, it was, so that was the first thing, right? Of like a very proud moment. And he told me that 2 months ago. Keep in mind, I've been doing YouTube for 6 years. And then the second time.
I thought it was 4.
No, 6. I started in 2006. So that's 5 years. No, 2016, sorry. 2016. 2006. 2016 was my very first YouTube video.
Math is hard.
January of 2016.
Okay, so yeah.
So 5 years. So yesterday, it was probably my second coolest moment with them where we're talking. Again, I'm being obnoxious, right? I'm saying things I shouldn't have said in terms of like these flexes. But my dad interjected in one of the stories, and he said how he was hanging out with one of his buddies, like his buddy that like I remember when I was a kid, and his son. Basically, there's an exchange of conversation. I guess it was like my dad's buddy, this older gentleman, and the older gentleman's son, who is probably my age or something like that. And my dad said, this is how he prefaced the story. He says his buddy was talking to his son watching this video while my dad was in the house, and he goes, I don't know what project I was doing. In fact, I'm actually going to recall and ask my dad again about the story. But he goes,
the sauna, right?
I think it was a sauna. I don't know what it was.
I think it was.
Was it sauna? And he goes, do you know, his buddy his buddy looked at his son. And he goes, do you know what video you're watching right now? He goes, that's his son. Like he pointed to my dad and says, and he was like shocked and stuff like that. And to me, that was like the second coolest experience. And it should be my first, but I guess buying a boat is my dad being proud of me. So it's, when you have a bunch of childhood trauma and a bunch of mommy and daddy issues, you tend to not know how to navigate the space and how you act. But like I said, this is what's great about you is that you always find.
You can look in my eyes and tell me, and I can tell you non-verbally.
No, but not even that. I think that's the first time you ever actually did that part. But you're always good about being my cheerleader, like in my corner, and that's not to like diminish any of your success because I'm always like cheering you on in your stuff. But it's like I said, that's what I attribute all of my success to. It's not. I never want to impress other people. It's like I want to. There's a reason I tell you, like, hey, guess what contract I just landed, or whatever they're paying, or. It's just because I want to see your reaction. And my kids, they don't know this stuff, because I think there's been 2 occasions where like 2 of their school friends were like saw their hoodies or shirts, and
that to me is crazier than like anything. Like your dad's stuff it's funny that 7, 8-year-olds are like, oh hey, I think we watched that.
That was cool.
That is super cool to me because I'm like, it's cool that you're reaching that audience of like, dad kid relationships, you know, where they're like, hey, you want to watch this? This is really cool.
Yeah. It was cool. I took Jack skiing with Beckham a couple of months ago, and I was wearing a face mask because of the COVID precautions, and all the kids were wearing their face masks. And we had our ski helmets on and our goggles on, and we got on the ski shuttle at the mountain resort, and I had the Mr. Bullis sticker on my skis. And one guy that I sat next to, he was sitting with his son, and he like points at my sticker. He goes, hey, are you by any chance Mr. Bill? He can't tell my face. And I was like, oh yeah. He goes, oh, my son, whatever his name is. He's like, he watches you all the time. And it was crazy because like my boys don't get it. But that's the only part that I want to get.
I know.
Because the way I work, like, and I've said this before, is like, I used to consider myself to be an extrovert, but the more I have a team and I work within my team in a closed garage and we just do our thing, like me and my people are the only people who like are basically like, it doesn't go further than that. And so like when anybody gives me any kind of acknowledgement, I'm always like, I don't care. Did my wife see it? Did my kids see it? Did my parents see it? Kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, and if they didn't, I don't care. Like, let's keep going.
That's crazy to me though, that like young kids are like interested in watching renovations or like how to build stuff. That is so cool to me.
Yeah, I think it's really, really cool.
Because I don't, to me, most of the time I'm like, all the kids I see are like on their
Fortnites and stuff like that. Yeah, no, it's so, okay. Again, going back to all this stuff, it's like, I don't like, if my kids go, hey, Dad, that's really cool. Somebody from my school like watches you. That's the coolest thing in the world to me. But even if they don't, I'm like, whatever. But like with my parents, I'm constantly, even though we don't have a fantastic relationships, like we're now trying to like rekindle all that again. Everything I do, I don't say it right, but everything I do is trying to like in the middle of these conversations is like trying to like justify,
prove
like,
yourself. Yeah.
Maybe things would be different, and I'm not saying this should happen, and maybe this would help or not, but maybe like if you had a big counseling breakthrough and like the parents went, hey, we're sorry,
right,
we traumatized your childhood by saying you're going to be
it's never been addressed.
Yeah. I'm sorry, your entire childhood we told you you're an idiot. You know what I mean?
It's so sad.
Well, no, I don't want to go into that either because like I don't want to.
Still though, that obviously still affects you. This is like a counseling session right now.
1,000% it still affects me.
Well, then also the reason I think it is a big deal and it should be addressed because Beckham is the exact same way with learning as you. As me. He struggles
and
at
school. I have the most grace towards him.
Yes. And so I want
more than you.
But I don't. That's the thing is like I do not have the patience with him when he doesn't understand something because to me I mean I wasn't like the smartest kid in school, but things came like not super hard to me besides math a little bit, but probably not. Yeah.
No. The way you said this is like things didn't come to me super hard, and then you pointed at me, and I thought it was a sexual innuendo, but then you said the word math. I thought you were gonna do this like I never had anything hard. And then you pointed at me, and then you pointed at me, and then he goes, math.
Math. I mean, like I had to work for. I had to work for like my grades and everything still, but to me, I have such a hard time understanding where he's coming from with Jack. It's like he gets everything. I'm like, oh yeah, of course you get it because this is easy. Yeah. And then Beckham is like, he just doesn't care and doesn't remember things really well because they're not important to him. And so I don't have as much grace or patience towards that. And so I always love when you work with him because we do have to work with him with like his sight words and reading because he just doesn't, he's not, he's struggling in school with it. And so I always love when you tell him you're going to be a rocket scientist. You're going to be the smartest kid because like it's so important for him to understand that even though he's struggling, like he is really smart and he gets it and he's, you know, so creative and talented and all these things which you didn't hear in your childhood. And so I love that you can relate to him and tell him what you know he needs to hear. Because I'm really not very good at that.
He's wired 1,000% like me.
Just like you, yeah.
And then,
because when it comes to building, he can build probably a rocket ship right now, right here.
he was building. He took the lawn or leaf blower, and he cut up a bunch of cardboard wings and taped to it. And at one point, he threw the leaf blower in our grass today, and it took every ounce of me not to get pissed off.
Yeah, but that's him. He's just so creative. He doesn't have time for sight words or reading or letters, because it's like his brain is working at 100 miles an hour thinking about the next thing he can create, you know? And so that's where that mind is, and that's where he got it from you 100%.
He's 1,000% like me, and then Jack is 1,000% like you and my dad and my oldest brother, where you guys are just smart people. You guys can receive information and know what to do with it, and you know when this is important. That's why Jack doesn't feel like he's challenged in school. And Beckham, with him, like, you know, he's completely on the other side. And to me, I'm happy when I'm able to catch myself to be like, seeing that, you know, he's pushing your triggers, and you're like, why is this so hard for you to understand? And it just gives me these flashbacks of going like, my parents going 2 times 2, 9. It's not 9.
And then you just
4.
Laugh
Why
out
is
at
it?
you? And you're like, I don't know.
And then my dad, I remember sitting with a broom, and he would hit me with the pole every time I would say the wrong number. And I'm like, I'm trying. I just can't see the damn numbers in my head.
Yeah.
Until this day, like, that's my understanding.
Like, how do you get mad about that? But yeah, it's so easy for me to be like, why don't you get it? You know?
That's why, like, to me, like, I've told this to Kyle. I've told this to like Tyler that works with me, and I was like, guys, if you ever ask me like normal numbers, like meaning like even easy numbers, 2 plus 2, 4 plus 6, even numbers, I can do them in my head. I could figure it out. You give me an odd number, 3 plus 9. Don't know until I stop and use my fingers. Like I can't see them in my head, but what I can see is steps of a project.
Yep. That's how
so
that's how Beckham's wired.
When I see you being like short or impatient with Beckham, for some reason, like, I get an extra dose of patience with him, because I'm like, hey bud,
you understand.
It's like I'm talking to the young version of me, and I go, hey buddy, when the world thought you were an idiot, you're not.
Yeah.
Because what the world said that your weakness would be, it's going to be your strength. And so I make this joke all the time. I was like, Jack, he's going to go to MIT, right? He's gonna do incredible things. He's gonna get a full ride scholarship. Beckham is gonna put pizza on the freaking moon. Like, he's gonna innovate.
If Elon Musk doesn't do it first.
If he doesn't do it, like, he's gonna innovate in a way where it's gonna be non-traditional. Like, it's gonna be against the grain, but with the right tools, he's gonna figure out that when everybody says no, he's gonna figure out a way how to do it, and then he's gonna be very successful in it. But
so it's our job to motivate that
100%.
And encourage that and be so proud of like
100%. It gives me goosebumps every time I tell him he's going to be a rocket scientist, because he wants that so bad. He wants to be a rocket scientist so bad. And it gives me goosebumps when I go, buddy, you're so smart. Even when I do, like, we'll drive in the car and Jack's like, again, because he's so analytical, he's like, Dad, can we do math problems? And I'll be like, okay, what's
equations?
6 plus 9? And you know what's funny? I give him 6 plus 9. You know what I'm doing in the car? While
You're
he's thinking,
counting in your head.
Because he's a 7-year-old who's got to take him a minute. I'm like, I got my fingers on the steering wheel, and I'm like 6,
you
7,
like the
8,
calculator
9.
out. Yeah.
But with Beckham, like, I'll give him a simple one, because I'm still trying to exercise that part of his brain, and he'll get 2 plus 6, and I'm like, dude, that's incredible, and he's just so proud of him, and that's the boost of like whatever, like, and
because who knows at school, like, he has a great teacher, but it's like, I don't know if he gets that at school, where it's like, you are so smart, you know, it's more like I'm sure he's getting that. I'm getting these like worksheets that go like not finished, had a hard time, like things like that, and so
I'm sure his self-esteem doesn't get damaged in school,
because seem like it is.
Teachers are really good about going, you know, let me talk to your parents or redirect, you know, like even when he had some bad attitudes in PE, his teacher called me and she was like, he's having a hard time focusing. I'm like, no. We'd like to do no nonsense parenting. Like, if you gave him one warning and he doesn't go by it, take a privilege away from him. So if the kids get to play basketball, he gets to sit out. And then it takes one time for him to realize. So anywho, going back into it, like, childhoods, they jack you up and they jack up your confidence. And then what ends up happening is you do something with your life and you end up being a complete jackwagon when you talk to other people because you don't know you spent your entire life not knowing what confidence is. And then now you get to talk to the people who
didn't shape that confidence for you.
Who you always wanted to impress, and you don't know how to talk, right? Because you end up speaking out of your ass.
Yeah.
So,
which is interesting because my parents, I mean, I would say my parents were great, and I had a really great upbringing, and they did a great job of, telling us they were proud of us. I don't feel like we weren't very what's the word I'm looking for, affectionate towards each other. So like we weren't like this like huggy family or like said I love you all the time, but my parents did a really good job of being there for us. So like they tried to do a lot of family trips, whether it was camping or like just do things where it's like our family, where
just you guys,
just
like,
us, not with like other people. It was, we did just us families to that where we enjoyed spending time together. And so I never had that like thought in my head of like I need to like prove myself to my parents, or like I need to tell them like about all my accomplishments because I want them to like be proud of me, because I always felt like they were, no matter what I did. Even though they never like told me, not as much as we tell our kids, but like I don't recall like these moments, but I remember like
you never had a need to say these things.
But I never had like this need of like I need to like not where I am in life now, like be like, oh, guess what? Or like,
that is interesting to me. It's actually interesting, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but you have never, like in the conversations with your parents, you have never flexed. Like you have never been like, oh, I just got the so-and-so local builder. And your dad knows builder because he does granite locally. And so granite countertops. So he knows all the major builders because he works with them. And like, because he's in the industry, like you got to stage and rank first place for like parade of homes and stuff like that and staging them. And you have never actually brought that up. Like I've always had to like bring that up. And
because I never felt like I needed to. Yeah. And then I think
it's because you grew up in one of those, my parents loved me household.
Yeah. It's interesting like to talk about it. I feel like this is a counseling session because
I just saved like $4,000 right now.
It's absolutely true. I think I've never felt this like need to prove myself or to like make them proud of me, because I've always felt that way. Like,
I never told you this. And again, this goes back to how like jacked up I am with parent issues. When I was 19, my parents bought me a car, a really cool car.
What kind was it?
It was a Honda Accord two-door. It was like a 2001 or something like that. Like it was a really nice one. But when I was my very first car was a 1986 Honda Civic. And 2 months after I got my license, I was like home late. I was doing like 95 miles an hour down the freeway, got pulled over and didn't get a ticket. And I thought I got let off. 2 years later, or like a year and like 9 months later, I get a thing to go to court. And
wait, you didn't get a ticket?
No.
But you actually did?
He
didn't give you a citation?
No.
How did you?
No, he just took,
But then how are you? What?
I think it's up to 5 years before of traffic violations like not existent.
No, but how was it a traffic violation if
so
he didn't give
I
you
was
a ticket?
doing 95, 100 miles an hour down the freeway trying to be late because my curfew was 10:30. I was like 11 o'clock, right? And I'm like, my dad's pissed off, right? Again, angry dad. And get pulled over on 167 in Federal Way, Washington. As soon as he comes up, I give him my driver's license. I'm so sorry, I'm late. I'm past my curfew, blah, blah, blah. He saw I got my license like 2 months ago. He took my license, took a little notepad out of his pocketbook, wrote it down, just gave it to me back.
What'd he say?
I don't remember what he
Did he
said.
say this is a warning?
No, he never said it's a warning. He never said I'm letting you off. He just said, it was kind of like he wasn't buying what I was putting out, kind of
But
thing.
he never said, hey,
No.
you're getting,
No.
you need to go to court or
Nope,
anything.
Nope, nothing. So for almost 2 years, I was telling the story how I got off, and then I got this car. My parents got it to me because they sold my other one, and my mom calls me, and she's like, "Hey, you got a court thing tomorrow." What? I don't have a ticket. And then I go look into it. They call me up. That's what it was. And apparently in King County Sheriff's
time.
Office, they have up to like 4 or 5 years to still prosecute you. And they were backed up on their thing. So that was one of the
It
things.
took so long.
Where was I going with this story?
You said you never told me this.
Yeah. So long story short, the way my dad handles things, again, rage and all that stuff. He goes, I'm selling your car to pay for all of these fees and stuff like that, which it was not the same amount, but he was like going over proportion.
This is your punishment.
Keep in
kind of
mind,
thing.
for the first 3 years I had a job when I was like 16, living with my parents, my dad kept every paycheck of mine because he's like, you're going to have you're living with me. This is you paying
This is
me.
what you owe me.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So in my perspective, these cars were like my cars that my paychecks were saved.
Yes.
Right.
Like you deserved.
So he
to
sold
see-
my car now, which was the equivalency of all my paychecks, to pay these fees, and the fees were only like I think like $3,000 or something like that, and the car was more than that. Anywho, I ended up driving beaters for like 5 years. Right, like I had like a '96 Ford Escort, '94 Ford Taurus,
good ones.
'93 Ford Escort station wagon that was forest green. Like these, like at that age, you're not meeting any girls at all, right? Like,
How old were you?
You want to practice
17?
celibacy? I was.
19,
I
you
did
said?
that from the age of. So let's see. I got pulled over at 16. I got prosecuted at 18. From 18 to 21. I drove those beaters, okay? And I did backpacking trip to Europe for
Right.
5 weeks. And when I came back, I needed a car, right? Because I sold off basically everything to like go do this backpacking trip. And keep in mind, all these beaters, they cost $600. Like the 96, whatever.
Yeah, it's nothing.
So I come back and I was like, Dad, and my parents are like excited to see me because they didn't see me for 5 weeks. And my dad's like, I was like, Dad, I hate to ask you this, but there's the state auction where like the police auctions off their old cars, like a retired sheriff's car, Ford Explorer. Mm-hmm. Do you think you can maybe get me a halfway decent car and then I'll pay you back later? I was, keep in mind, 21. And so he buys me the retired sheriff's car, which was like a 2000, I think, one Ford Explorer. It was white.
You had it when we met.
Yeah, when we met, and it was super basic cloth interior, nothing fancy inside.
It was Explorer or Expedition?
Explorer, and they took all the sheriff's vinyls off of it, so it didn't look like a cop car. But the intention was like, I'll pay you back.
Mm-hmm. How much was it?
Like 2,500 or 3,000, something like that. And I legitimately yesterday had this thought. I was like, I'm gonna write him a check for $3,000.
You never paid him back?
I even went and found my checkbook and I was like, I'm gonna write him a thing for $3,000. But then I had my own like internal conversations. I was like, wait a second, like he took all of my paychecks for 4 years as a kid, and then sold off my car to pay this. And so it was just like I was like, and so
Yeah.
long story short, I didn't do it, but I was like this close last night.
Yeah.
I found the
Did you
checkbook.
remember? How did you even remember that?
Oh, I think about that every time.
You do? Because it's like this debt.
I have
you
weird
let go.
conversations in my head. That's why like I use the conversation, like the terminology is like you have demons that you're dealing with. These are
These
childhood
internal-
fears. These are like you're not good at what you do. So like when I tell you like when I wake up at 5 a.m. when my brain's still asleep and I'm brushing my teeth for those 10 minutes that I'm in the bathroom, like I have some of the hardest, difficult, darkest conversations of like self-worth and stuff until I'm out of the bathroom and I'm making coffee. And then at that point I'm like clear as day. But Yeah, no, that. So parent stuff, it's a real.
Well, yeah, that's your
It's
entire.
important to tell your kids
yeah.
you love them. It's important to tell your kids they're smart,
Proud of them.
that they can do anything. It's important to tell them that like it's very destructive to tell your kids like they suck at something because but I also think it's important to tell your kids that they're not good at everything. Like
right.
you can't be like
you play to their strengths.
Yeah, you can't be like, you can do anything you want to do. Well, no, because you're going to want to be a painter and you might suck.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? But what you want to do is be like, hey, you're really good at that. That's really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, you're really good at, so like, I think that's important.
Yeah. And usually if it's something they're good at, it's something they like to do, right? Usually it's
1,000. I think it's 100%. Like you can't just be like the world's your playground. Anything you want to be.
Yeah, no. And that's what a lot of people say. They're like, you're not supposed to like. I've heard it both ways. I've heard like people say you're not supposed to like tell your kids you can be whatever you want to be and do whatever you want to do because it's not realistic. But at the same time, as a parent, you can see what your kid is good at or what they really enjoy doing, and you can tell them, hey, do you like this? Oh, you could totally be this, or you could totally do this if you want, because you're encouraging them to go, to do what they want to do but still being realistic about like, you're good at this.
I remember I heard somebody say this line. He got a picture from his kid and he goes, can you hang it up on the refrigerator? And the kid, I think, was like 6 or something like that. Like the kid drew enough already by 6 to know what's good, what's not. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, can you put it in the fridge? And he goes, well, do you feel like this is fridge worthy? and to some people that might sound like a very cruel thing, but I think there's a little bit of realness to them, right? Where like because what your kid is generally already inclining to and wants to be. Now, if your kid wants to with all his heart to be a painter, then you with all your lying breath go, that's awesome, dude. Let's do that.
Of course, yeah.
But
the worst thing you could do is discourage your child from pursuing something.
1,000%.
At this age, they're supposed to be venturing into everything to figure out what they want to do and what they want to be.
1,000%. And so
that's funny though.
Elon Musk also, he had a great perspective about schooling and education with kids. He's it's more important that not that they get an education, but they learn how to solve problems. Like if you can give a child a problem. I mean, you probably already heard me saying, like I heard that line and I started doing it with the kids. I was like, they're like, Dad, I can't find my sweater. I go, hey, well, that's a problem. And I think you need to figure out a solution. Yeah. So where'd you look? You looked at spot 1, spot 2. Well, we have 9 more spots you should look at.
Right. Instead of doing it for them, you help them solve these problems themselves to where they're set up in life, figuring them out.
Exactly. Like you make these things where like, okay, so what's the problem? The problem is that games are altering your attitude, right? Your cheeks get red, your temper gets short.
Right.
So, but you still want to play them. So how do we solve that? Well, I think you kind of lead them to that point where they come up with their own solution. And the solution might be, well, what if I played from this time to this time and then took a break from this time to that time? Oh, right. Okay, cool. Let's try that and then see how that goes. Sounds like you came up with a solution to a problem. And I think those are the people who end up going to space. Like I truly do think when they go, hey, we don't have enough propulsion in this jet fuel to get us this high. Well, what are we looking at? Oh, well, the rocket's too heavy. Okay, well, how do we lighten up the rocket?
Yeah.
Like you
instead of going, okay, let's give up. It's not working. It's like, okay, what's the next thing we can cross off the list?
1,000%. Like if you can't put boxes right there after you broke them down. Do you see where I'm going with that? You don't see that? You don't see how I'm going? Do you want to get them between us or do you want to share that?
What?
That situation.
The box?
The boxes.
I was trying to unpack our kitchen.
She's unpacking our kitchen yesterday, and you can't walk in the garage at all. Like there's no.
We had to put everything in the garage and the front room because the flooring wasn't done.
Yeah, and so she's breaking up the boxes and unpacking the kitchen.
No, I had a system. I was gonna unpack all the boxes and then break them down.
But regardless, she put them in the garage. Like as soon as you open the door, the only empty spot was like the 2 feet by 2 feet where you take your shoes off, and she put them there. And I was like, hey, hon, I'm trying to clear this chaos here. You can't put these boxes here. But you were frustrated in the middle of all your stuff, and you go, I don't know where I could put the stuff. And I go, well, the answer's not in front of our feet when you open the door.
You're like, listen, I know you have a problem, but this is not the solution.
This is the reality.
I wasn't problem solving.
That's Elon Musk's perspective at the first. Like, I mean, I'm trying to learn what he's putting out.
Boxes are the death of me.
No, it's been great. I mean, we.
I do feel like today, after I came home,
This is boring
tired.
to you, huh?
After I came home from work, and was able to unpack the boys' room, the laundry room, and we got most of the kitchen done.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like today feels like the first day where it's like I can breathe a little bit. Yesterday I was so stressed out, and the day before that I was so stressed out because it was like I gotta unpack enough for your parents to be able to use the kitchen, and then I gotta unpack enough for the kids to have clothes where your parents can find them, and the bathrooms to have like soap, shampoo, and conditioner. Like there's just certain things I knew I had to unpack and get done before we leave, and so it was like this, I'm never gonna get it done. I have stuff to go to work. I still have to do this. There's just no way. And so today I'm like, okay, our room is still a disaster, but at least that could stay like that because they don't need to use it.
It's funny that that's what was going. Sorry, I hit the mic. It's funny that that's what you're going through, because I was going through the exact same thing on Sunday to Monday, and you're like, hey, this side of the house is completely cold.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I knew my parents were coming on Monday night. I was like, I don't know what to do. I'll get to it. There's a lot of things I gotta do. And like the dryer is not connected because the movers didn't bring the little exhaust tube. And I'm like,
it's like just this endless list that kept getting longer instead of shorter.
And so I'd wake up and so every time you mention something that's not working, I was like, I'll get to it, and then like Kyle, the videographer, is coming over and we need to shoot the ending of the video. And I don't remember the video that we're even talking about. So I'm like,
there's too much.
There's so much. And so I clearly, like the next day, like I woke up, I couldn't sleep, woke up 5 a.m. So I'm like tinkering with the furnace. I was really proud of myself, got the furnace to work. So now I knew that because you're like, your parents are coming. I'm like, you and I could tough it out, and the kids can tough it out with a colder room.
Your parents would not be able to tough
My
it
parents,
out. They're always cold.
Being older, they'd probably be like, think when are in Antarctica. But I also said it weird. Antarctica. So it was like another day where it's like, but then I need shelving, but I also need to do the trim, and I can't walk in the garage, and I need shelves to get the things off the ground. But what's more important, that or trim baseboard, so I'm not having paint in the house anymore. So
it's hard to prioritize things when everything needs to be done and has equal amount of like importance. That's what I had a hard time with. I'm like, I don't even know what to tackle first because everything is important.
Well, here's what's fun. Here's what's fun is right now it's 9:44 p.m. And you and I are leaving for vacation tomorrow, and our flight leaves at 7 a.m. and we still haven't packed, and all of our stuff is still in boxes.
So we have to find our stuff and then pack.
And then put them in another box, which is luggage, and then
Oh man.
So
worth it.
That is enough for us to say thanks for sticking around to this counseling sessions.
Hope you guys enjoyed our counseling session.
Yeah. Alex,
we really knocked it out.
Alex just saved thousands of dollars.
$300?
Yeah. Thousands of dollars. And I'll get better. But in the meantime, what's up?
Oh, your new merch.
Oh, you're going to push this? This is nice of you.
I love it. Merch. I want a sweater like that.
Super high quality, actually. I'm very proud of this. I have a new distributor, new colors, we even have a new logo. I don't want to say his name because his name should never be spoken.
Thou who shall never be named.
John Evelyn Malecki. I always tell people it doesn't middle name.
John Evelyn Malecki Mazukin.
You guys, it should be going out live here by the time you hear this podcast. If you want to support, there's a couple of new prints. There's different colors. If you guys want to support my channel and stuff, go grab it. It's on the Mr. Build It & Co. website. There's a bunch of links in the YouTube descriptions. But you guys will not regret this new line of hoodies and stuff like that. Really proud of it. Anywho, go follow her stuff. She's got highlights on her Instagram with all the home renovation stuff if you guys want to follow that. We have our YouTube channel series with its own playlist titled The Concrete Slab House Reno. We just put out episode 3. Episode 4 is coming in a week, probably the week of this podcast.
What's episode 4? Painting?
Flooring. Oh yeah, painting. You don't want to miss it. Thank you. And we're so sorry we were 2 weeks late on this podcast.
Yeah.
We'll
It's been a wild 2 weeks.
We're officially set up with everything that we're back on schedule to weekly podcast. Bye guys.
Bye.